Man, this is hard. Controls are too sensitive. If only somebody would make a game out of this.
What? You got something for me?
The year is 2003. Will Ferrell would soon release his masterpiece onto the world with Elf, Evanescence was waking America up inside with Bring Me to Life, and Nintendo was in the middle of their mid-2000s experimental phase. This was also the year that we would get the first WarioWare, WarioWare Inc. Mega Micro Games. The inception for the first game came around the time when a small team within Nintendo began taking inspiration from a separate mode inside of a 64 disk drive game titled Mario Artist Polygon Studio, a 3D animation game which had a separate mode based on completing bite-sized games in rapid succession, which is eerily similar to modern WarioWare. One secretive development cycle and admission to their, hopefully, pleasantly surprised superiors later, and WarioWare on the GBA was released to the public.
It's Poppin' B. PurplePock here, and I love WarioWare. It's a franchise that you can always rely on for oodles of creativity, fun, and character. Honestly, it's just a franchise I have so many good things to say about. I mean, WarioWare Gold on the 3DS is one of my favorite games ever made, and honestly, I can pick up any one, anytime, pretty much, and play it with some friends. So with the franchise's name back on people's lips for one reason or another, I thought that today would be a good time to look back at the original game and see if it's held up over 15 years later. Has it, or have newer sequels replaced it? Let's find out.
As the game begins, we're greeted by some chill music and a cutscene of Wario sitting around doing nothing. He then sees on TV that games are doing extremely well as a means of making quick cash, and has the oddly intelligent and sophisticated epiphany of buying a laptop in order to code his own games and becoming the president of his own independently founded tech company, while also becoming a biker all of a sudden and dyeing his hair orange. Did this change ever confuse anybody else, or was it just me? But shortly after this, he remembers that he's a lazy sack of shit, and so he calls up all of his friends in order to pull an Action 52 and trick them into making all the games for him. That's our plot, that's our setup, and thus the game begins. And we get the title screen. Awesome. Just awesome. Framing everything as a program running on Wario's 2000s era laptop, Internet Explorer looking interface and all. And the sound. Oh man. We'll come back to you. Anyway, seeing how this whole game is basically just a gallery of smaller games framed by larger themes, I'm going to go through this review in a linear order of what happens in the game, one level at a time, so we can just see how the whole main campaign holds up today. First up, we have Wario. It won't be the last time we see him, but again, we'll get back to that. So, what's our first game?
Wow. Like a hot dog down a hallway.
Anyway, in case you weren't familiar with the basics of WarioWare, let me give you the basics. And I do mean basic, because everything's pretty simple. Every level in the game consists of a variety of different micro games, which are all games that use at most one button and the D-pad, and which have simple goals and can be completed in a matter of seconds. The order of the games is different every time, and they gradually get faster every round until you reach a boss fight, and then the whole thing starts again, harder and faster than before.
Like a hot dog down a hallway.
Wario's level at the start just serves as a basic tutorial, as well as an introduction to the sense of humor and style that the game has. Abstract, bizarre, and outlandish are the flavors of the day, and WarioWare is going in for 3 scoops of each. Anyway, that's about all I have to say about Wario's games. There's a lot of catching things and hallway hot dogs. Let's move on to the next wild and crazy guy, and it's Jimmy. Jimmy's a cool dude, good with animals, he likes the ladies, and he loves to dance. His games are sport-based, for some reason, and this is another really solid collection. There's not much to say about them specifically, so let's talk about the microgames as a whole. You might think that these things would get stale after a while, considering how simple they are, but that really isn't the case. Even just with Jimmy, there's so much variety in these simple mechanics, to games based on tiny movements, games based on large ones, timing-based ones, reflex-based ones, and all of them with different art styles, music, and sound effects to keep them feeling extra distinct and punchy and satisfying. Oh, I love this one, hold on. There's more than enough variety that the repetition of it all rarely gets boring. Plus, you gotta give them credit for the creativity of the games on their own, which there's plenty of. So yeah, these games are all really fun, and it all tops off with an homage to Punch-Out. Good stuff. Let's move on. Oh, hold up a sec, the next games have to load. Alright, next up we've got Mona. She's cool, I guess. I don't really know why she's friends with Wario, though. Every stage has a cutscene that precedes it to set up the scenario that the microgames take place in for the character, and I love Mona's. This pixelated scenic view of what looks like a real picture of a rocky tunnel on, like, an Italian highway sums up this game's experimental free spirit in, like, 3 seconds. And it's followed by these cute little kids crossing the street all safely, following the stop signs. Mona then does what any one of us would do in her situation and gets into a high-speed car chase with the cops so that she isn't even slightly late for work. Like you do. Mona's collection of games is classic. The theme is strange, which is a little redundant because pretty much the entire game is strange, but it doesn't matter because these games are awesome. Grabbing the little dude with the tweezers, grabbing toast, picking noses, and helping pretty girls snort up their snot, and so much more. These are the types of grab bag variety games that define the series going forward, and the cartoony scenario helps elevate the nonsense into an actual situation you have to escape from that you can get invested in. After all of the police are finally dead, Mona finally makes it to work, and we see that she's working at the gelateria where Jimmy ended up when his games were over. Maybe we'll be coming back here again. Now it's time for 9-Volt, a lot of people's favorite part of the WarioWare games. This kid calls himself the old school grade schooler, and he ain't kidding. 9-Volt is a real gamer, and his collection are all classic Nintendo themed. Admittedly, these Nintendo themed classics would improve in later installments when they can get more creative with better technology, but these original Nintendo homages are still awesome. Classics like Mario Brothers, F-Zero, and Balloon Fight, spliced in with nods to less favorable or even obscure chapters of Nintendo's history, like Rob, the Virtual Boy, and their baseball pitching machine. All of them control just like they should, look and sound just like they should, and each one of them is like a teensy tiny little time capsule. It's wonderful. Awesome. Plus, you can trust 9-Volt's taste, come on. He rushed out to buy a Game Boy Advance SP as soon as he could. Smart kid right there. And now we get to Dribble and Spitz, two best pals and professional taxicab drivers. Hope the rideshare industry hasn't hit them too hard. And with them, we get some sci-fi games, as well as my jam! This is the original Vaporwave. I think it's about time we got to the sound. The sound design in the first WarioWare is so crunchy and diverse, it's simply delicious. From all the compressed but still high quality sound effects, oh no, to the catchy tunes every character gets. Hello? Hello? All integrated into the pace of the gameplay with the same skillful placement as most rhythm games. Which makes sense, seeing how the developer would go on to create the Rhythm Heaven series as well. It's all great stuff, and the GBA's crushed audio just makes it all the more charming and special. Anyway, aside from that soulful, melancholy ballad, there isn't much to say about this collection. Another solid bunch of games with a sci-fi theme, and it all culminates in a solid little space shooter complete with power-ups. Once again, very nice. Oh yeah, and your passenger was a mermaid who lived in a grainy PNG the whole time. Moving on. Anyway, this one's just Jimmy again, complete with a mishmash of different games from the folks we just finished. A sort of test of your abilities so far, a little slightly more difficult skill test. Nothing really to mention here. I'm saying that a lot, aren't I? So let's just move on. Oh, wait, the games are loading again! Now we have Dr. Krygor, distant cousin to Eggman and professional loon with a hefty chunk of grant money lining his pockets. He appears to be using his vast intellect to develop water in a cup.
Why would I never thought of that?
And after drinking too much, he makes a rush to his likely rocket-propelled vacuum toilet in order to relieve himself. Lots of sciencey mind games here, along with even more of this game's awesome prowess with rhythm and music. Seriously, how do you make staring into a toilet so funky?
Very nice.
But I do have to say that out of all the boss stages in the game, Krygor's is easily my least favorite. Aiming the laser at these tiny rocks for over a minute with somewhat sensitive controls isn't all that great. But at least it's original. It ends with the whole lab flooding with fresh poo water and Dr. Krygor flying around for some reason, before going off to menace our other friends at the ice cream shop. Remember this, it will be very important later. I'm serious. I'm serious. Cat and Anna's stage is weird. It starts out with some guy being terrorized by some kind of skeletal Oni thing, and Cat sending for Anna's help to defeat it via carrier pigeon. But Cat just calls Anna Ninja Girl when I always thought they were sisters? I guess not? Well then, is this when they first meet each other? Why does she have to travel such a long distance to make it all the way to Diamond City? I mean, they are still in Diamond City, right? Why is this face so derpy? Why is this dog so cute? Why is the music and presentation so melancholy and wistful? Really though, this is another great bunch of games. They're supposed to be nature-themed, but they try and slip a few normal ones by while they're at it. Thought you could get it by me, but I see all, Game Boy. The presentation is genuinely beautiful for a Game Boy Advance game, music included, and the feudal Japanese look right down to the game's numbering and the broken sword health bar is really sweet. All only slightly undercut by the fact that when you transition to the boss stage, it goes from to a little jarring, don't you think? Orbulon is really just more of the same that Krygor gave us. I don't really have much to say, even though he's probably my favorite character in all of WarioWare. I mean, there's some pretty unique characters in this whole lineup, and there would be more good ones down the line, but Orbulon just takes the cake. I mean, he looks like a bowling pin, he talks like a belching theremin making out with a megaphone. And he loves to drink chili.
A shake. The milky kind with extra picante.
I'll make yours extra piquant, yeah?
Gloggy glog glog. Too fast. Oh my, brain freeze.
But there's not much to say about his games. Also very good. Also based on Smarty Pants stuff like Krygor. And the music slaps as usual. Plus, his boss stage is a neat little take on standard RPG battles, but instead of tactics, it's based on paying attention. Which for me, may even be a greater challenge. It's still great, so it's all good for us Earthfolk, but now we're nearing the end of the road. Time to change gears. This is just Jimmy again. Get out of here, Jimmy. You're just filler before the final boss, and we all know it. Get out of here. At last, we come back to Wario. He's here to be our final test, and to remind us that this is, in fact, his game. Wario's games are, like he says, the hardest yet, and keeping with his egotistical nature, all the games are Wario-themed, which is a lot of fun. They're tough, but frantic and fun as hell, with the same variety we've been seeing the whole time so far. Whoa! Did you see how fast he ate that thing? Just disappeared.
Like a hot dog down a hallway.
And then, we make it to the final boss. A somewhat longer than average microgame. Just what I wanted. And then, with his game complete and flying off the shelves, selling like hotcakes, Wario tries to make a break for it with all the money, without compensating his friends. But then Dr. Krygor very importantly flies into the scene, see, I told you he'd be back, and knocks Wario's space rocket, which he has for some reason, out of orbit, and they fall into the sea to live with the mermaids. And they all live happily ever after. So, that's the first WarioWare in all its bizarre, bite-sized GBA glory. How does it hold up? Does it hold up?
Well, if you ask me, I personally believe that the first WarioWare has held up tremendously. It's difficult even today to find games like it that have the same amount of personality just crammed into it. While the themes that they try to present in each level are only kind of vaguely followed and it just kind of does whatever it wants, that's part of its magic. It's the little things that make this game so special. It's the fact that it integrates your name into the game at multiple points. It's the fact that they went out of their way to make a pixelated slice of steak look so warm and tender and juicy. It's the fact that there's hushed whispering when you try to thread a needle. It's the fact that when you're listening to Drifting Away, it sounds like they say, not art. It's a lot of little things. This is a game that is greater than the sum of its parts, and it absolutely deserved the success that it got and the franchise that it spawned. It's a game that I am very willing to pick up and play pretty much whenever because it's so approachable and quick and snacky. I've played it tons as a 3DS ambassador on my 3DS, on long plane rides and whatever, and you know, I'm going to play it more and more after this. It's a game that if you haven't gotten around to, I think it's worthwhile. It's available on the Wii U Virtual Console just for a couple bucks. I got my copy on eBay for like, I don't know, 10, 15 bucks. And it's well worth revisiting today. So yeah, WarioWare Mega Micro Games holds up pretty well if you ask me. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm going to try and use what this game has taught me to nail this once and for all.
I did it! Hey everybody, thanks for watching. Again, it always means so much when people stick it out to the very end. And if you did, and if you liked it, it'd be really nice if you gave the video a like or subscribed. It really helps me out, honestly it does, sharing it around. All of that is very much appreciated. Any feedback, too, that'd be great. If you want to keep up to date on whatever videos I'm making or other projects that I'm working on, you can feel free to follow me on Twitter at PurplePocketPirate. If you liked this review, maybe you'd like the last one I did on Wall Street Kid, an NES game about the stock market. Or the first one I did, Cat Girl Without Salad, the shmup way forward never wanted anyone to see. And as for the next thing, not really sure what it'll be. Got a lot of ideas. Gonna try and keep the schedule fairly even, but if it's not out in the next week, it should be out pretty soon after that. I'm not sure how long I'll be able to keep that going, but I'll do my best to keep it going for a little while. So, I hope you all enjoyed this one. I hope you're all gonna enjoy the next one. I will see you guys later. Have a good night, and take care. See you guys. Thanks a lot.